Couple of folks that you want to beware of. I don't want to say be wary, but just beware. The first type to beware of is the smooth talker. Anyone that is eloquent with their speech, have the red flag go up. The phrase I like to say is smooth talkers usually aren't smooth doers. And I'm not talking about someone that is just communicates well. I'm talking about that person that has that extra polish on them, where they just seem to be way too together and charismatic. Those people usually do not perform. And the weird thing, the trick is that they're usually great at describing systems that perform. They're usually amazing at sitting down and saying, well, yeah, I can see how the architecture needs to be, and you bring in this resource, and I can bring in that person, do this, and we can put these together, and we can do that, and this, and you're like, oh my God, and they take out a piece of paper and they draw this beautiful picture. It's like art. You're like, I found my person. And if you buy into it too much, if you estimate emotionally, like we've been talking about, you're going to wake up in 6 or 12 months, and you're going to be like, I have been thinking that this has been working the whole time because I've been watching their mouth and not their work, and everything's screwed up, and I'm behind, and I wasted all this money. So be really careful with the smooth talkers, and if you find one you really like and they do a really great job in your business, do yourself a huge favor, if they're a real creative style smooth talker, and get them an organizer to keep their eye on them. Okay? Get them an organizer. Maybe they don't, kind of directly report to an organizer, so to speak, or maybe they don't have someone with a dog collar on them. Maybe it's kind of a partnership or someone that supports them, but just make sure that there's an organizer around all the time, making sure that they're getting results. Typically, advisors and consultants are this type of person. Anytime you meet anyone that says, I am a consultant, there's about an 80 or 90% chance that they're going to really be just impressive with their communication. They're going to pull out charts and graphs and say theories, and I researched all of this stuff, and here's the way it works with all these other clients I've worked with. And you're going to go, I found my person, thank you. I was so frustrated, and you're going to save me. And then what they're going to do is, instead of actually implementing and executing, they're going to expect you to do all the implementing and executing of the brilliant ideas that they come up with. That's okay, as long as you know that that's what it is. So hourly consultants and advisors outside, that's probably what you're going to be dealing with. If you can accept it, good, but don't expect them typically, if they're a real smooth talker especially, to come in and execute and get the results. If you're working, by the way, with outsourced to a professional services firm, attorneys, accountants, consultants, any of those types, do yourself a huge favor. Be a bulldog with estimates and budgets. When you say, how much is this thing going to cost that you're talking about? And they say, well, we could really never project how much it's going to cost. Say, okay, well, unless you can project how much it's going to cost, then we probably can't do business. Really put a boundary up around that. And then, once they say, that project to put your books together is going to be $5,000, say, okay, great. If anything comes up during this that is outside of that, let me know. But make sure it's $5,000. Is there anything that you need to know that would tell you whether it's going to be more? Like, really get into this. And the reason why is because these people are paid hourly. And Alan on our team, you here, Alan? No? I saw him earlier. Alan pointed something out to me once. He said, the attorney firm that you hire to help defend you in a lawsuit, that will fight for you and that will just be on your side while someone else is just trying to destroy you maliciously, as soon as that lawsuit is over, your opponent will call up that attorney firm to hire him for some other thing, and they will say, great, okay, fine. Of course we'll take your money. We're in business. That's what we will do. It's not because they're bad people. It's because that's their model. Professional services firms, I have watched one business person after another, one entrepreneur after another come and say, oh, I found this great company, and they're going to, this attorney firm, they're going to handle all my copyrights and my trademarks and all of this kind of thing. And then 3 months later, they're saying, is $27,000 a lot of money to spend trademarking the name of your business? And I say, well, it's probably a lot when you haven't sold anything yet. All right? If you go to a trademark attorney, copyright, patent, trademark attorney, first thing they're going to say is, you got to copyright and trademark and patent everything. You got to protect yourself. You wouldn't want someone to steal your name. Unless you've come up with a name or an idea that really is a blockbuster and you've tested it out thoroughly and you know that it is, then what are you doing thinking that you should spend $27,000 in 3 months of your time doing that? Right? I don't mean to say that I don't want to put a bad light on them, but I just want to say as an entrepreneur who hasn't dealt with them, if you haven't, it can be a bad situation. So be really careful, get a budget, watch it closely, make sure that they hold to it, and be a bulldog about it. And then the final type, and this is a type that you should be wary of. Be very careful here. I found that these are typically the creative types that I'm talking about, the smooth talkers, but it's the type of person that I call the sticky person. Sticky. And I don't want to be negative or critical, but we all got to watch our asses in business because there are a lot of people out there that want to eat our lunch, and there are some unscrupulous people that, I was just reading in that book, Micro Trends. It said something like 1 out of every 31 people is under the supervision or jurisdiction of the legal system in our country. They're either in jail, they're on parole, they're on probation. Something like that. 1 in 31, I think. Now, does it make you a bad person? No. You screwed up. You made a mistake. Fine. But knowing that helps you realize that, wow, this person that's talking so smoothly to me, maybe this is what they do professionally. And what happens with sticky people that's particularly insidious, and I've worked with a number of them now, and I'm trying to get better at spotting them, is they talk the smooth game, they talk about what great results that they're going to produce, and they come into your organization, and then they immediately start building the political system. They start playing political games and building the political system. They start building the black boxes and creating a giant network thing that only they know how to run, and they're talking smoothly to everyone, and by the time you realize what's going on, that this is bad, then you start realizing it's worse than you think, because now they're plugged into everything. So, if someone's a really super smooth talker, first thing, again, the little flag goes up and say, okay, smooth talker, probably not a smooth doer, so I've got to just accept that. Now, I'm not saying just put a stamp on their head and say, nope, they probably don't know what they're doing, but just assume that. Just go, they probably aren't a good doer, so I'm going to have to put a good doer there with them so that they can work as a team. And when they come into your organization, listen to what everyone is saying about them. And if anything weird happens, if you sense anything weird with a new person, dive right in. Open it up. Spend some extra time working on it. Because sticky people can be really, really dangerous. I have a good friend. I used to work with him for a few years. We hired someone to work for him. She had a great resume, had management experience, was kind of quiet even, so she wasn't one of these super creative, smooth-talking people. She came to work doing some administrative work, and after working for several months, she quit and decided to take some of the company checks with her and went on a $30,000 shopping spree. That was a little bit of a problem. You know the good, bad thing, Rex? Yeah, it's definitely over on the bad side. You know, these things, I mean, management, leadership, we're just scratching the beginning of the surface. It just goes so much deeper than this when you're working with stars. And once you get it, and then you're in there and you're working with the people, the dynamics are far more powerful. I actually am looking forward to us doing something bigger together so that we can really get into that. And you can get some stars on your team. And then the lessons that you're talking about and you're learning are subtle, but much higher leveraged. So this is exciting. It's also exciting, by the way, for me, just selfishly, I'll tell you this, to be able to share this weird stuff with people that like it. Okay? It is. I gotta tell you, even some of the people on my team, when I say this stuff that come from big corporations, they're like, what's that frou-frou, weird hippie stuff that you were talking about?